Good afternoon, everybody. Happy Thursday. Welcome to our viewers that are viewing from their apartments on live streaming. Welcome. Hope you enjoy the show as well. We have a pretty full agenda today here for State of the Castle, and so we're going to jump right into it. And I'm actually going to introduce Mike Reaver, who needs little introduction these days. But nonetheless, Mike is our Director of Philanthropy, and for the viewers at home, I am just filling time until he gets here. And he's here. All right, Mike, take it away.
Thank you, Tyler. I appreciate Tyler putting me on first, which isn't the normal routine, but I'm off this afternoon. So right after this, I have to leave. I did have a couple things I wanted to tell you about, though, before I left. First of all, for those of you that are still curious, you still can sign up for the Employee Appreciation Fund monthly contribution option. I had 2 of your neighbors sign up just this past month. And what they ended up doing, instead of stretching the payments out over 10 months, they stretched it out over 5, doubled up, and it worked out fine. This is a great mathematical time to sign up if any of you are interested. So that's the first thing I wanted to tell you. Second of all, in your mailbox this morning, there is a notice about the treasure chest. We are going to be closed tomorrow, unfortunately. The reason, if any of you want to know, Pat Moss was down there last Friday, and she saw the reason. The after effects still linger a little bit. It just so happens also that we're having a busy time moving furniture in and moving furniture out. So we decided to just take the weekend, regroup. We will reopen next Friday for our regular hours. And starting with next Friday, we will be open every Monday and Friday from then on. So next Friday, June 4th, we are reopening. Monday, June 7th will be our first Monday that we are open as well, and then it'll be every Monday and Friday from then on. The hours are a little bit confusing because we're returning to exactly what we had before. Every Friday we're open from 10 until noon. Every Monday we're open from 2 until 4. And for those of you that show up on Friday at 2 and you wonder where we are with, no, that was Monday we're open. So that's the way it is. In addition to that, I should tell you, your garden committee has been very, very busy this summer, or spring rather. You've seen all the beautiful flowers out in the courtyard garden area. That committee has been working for the last several years on a collection that took place probably about 4 or 5 years ago. That pool of money that the Garden Committee has been living on for the last 4 or 5 years is depleted. We're beginning a collection effort to try to raise the money so that the Garden Committee has flexibility going forward, whatever they choose to do in the garden. For those of you that are interested, the Garden Committee probably spends about $1,000 a year. So it's, we're not looking for a huge sum of money, but if anybody would like to contribute to that, we encourage you to come and see me or go see anybody on the garden committee. If you make out, or if you want to contribute, a check made out to East Castle Place, or even seeing me, you can use a credit card or a debit card option to make a donation to the garden committee. Those are tax deductible if you make them out to East Castle Place. Yes?
Do you put along the bottom garden committee?
If you use the check option, you would put garden committee in the memo portion, but make the check out to East Castle Place. If you do that, again, give it to any member of the garden committee or put it in my mailbox or in my desk. We will see that it's processed properly. We'll replenish that pool of money, and the garden committee will be able to continue on then. So that I wanted to let you know that on behalf of the garden committee. And last but not least, I do have something up here I wanted to share with you. We received a very, very nice donation. Last week, a couple came in and gave us a wonderful collection of Yadros. They were given to the treasure chest. I've got about 8 or maybe 10 of these with various, various poses and things like that, various sizes. We're probably not going to put these in the treasure chest for sale. We may have a raffle of some sort at some point in time, maybe an auction or something like that. The donors actually were here on Friday of last week, and I spoke with them. They actually bought a lot of these on vacation in Spain and brought them back. So they're just lovely. So we do have a nice collection of Yadros now, but they're probably not going to be on the shelves in the treasure chest. But the treasure chest will process the process of getting them out to you and turning them into money, which will become part of the scholarship fund. And for those of you that are interested, the scholarship fund has had a wonderful week through the treasure chest. We're over $12,500 in the fund right now, so things are going very well. Can I answer any questions for anybody? There's one other special message I wanted to give to somebody. My father-in-law is in the office, in the audience right now. Marv, I need you tomorrow to help move furniture in the treasure chest. So if you're available tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock, okay, let me know. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mike. If you didn't know, Marv is in the back. Marv is one of our newest East Castle Place residents. So if you haven't had the opportunity to welcome him, please do so. But thank you as well, Marv, for your service between you and Bruce and Mike. Thanks to all of you. So we'll let Mike pack up and head on out. And if you need Mike, he'll be back tomorrow. I believe wine is still for sale, and feel free to see him for that as well. The next individual up is our administrator, Lindsay Migut. And so Lindsay will come on up and give you an update from the health center team that might have had a little surprise today. Lindsay.
Thank you, Tyler. Good afternoon. It's great to be here. Second month in a row seeing everyone in person, which is so nice. I actually walked in here and I forgot that we were in person. So, glass half full for sure. From a health center update for this month, we actually right now had surveyors bless us this morning from the state of Wisconsin. So we have one surveyor on site, hopefully for today only, and that is what she's scheduled for. Very nice girl, or lady, I shouldn't say girl. Very nice lady who was here actually a month ago for our annual survey, and she is here reviewing a self-report we submitted to the state, which is a closed record for a resident who used to reside here. So we anticipate that everything should go smoothly, but we obviously will keep you abreast of as things, unfold or what the outcome is, of course. And then in other news, I know last month it was asked about blood pressure clinics, as if we could get that back up and running, whether it's in the club room or the library room or the fireplace room. And the answer is yes. We will get that going in June. So we're going to be more creative now moving forward, seeing that vital machines are so user-friendly, the ones that we do have nowadays, that it doesn't necessarily take a registered nurse to obtain vitals, but just to oversee it. So watch for June calendar invites and information further from Teresa about upcoming blood pressure clinics if you would like to get that taken. And then that would be on a monthly basis moving forward. Any questions for me? No? All right. It's great to see you all. Here you go, Taylor.
All right. Thank you, Lindsay. Next on the update has a number of questions. Again, Eric Peterson will be able to answer, I'm sure, the majority, if not all. Eric, take it away. Thank you, Tyler.
nice to see everybody in person again. I will go through the resident questions first and then a few additional items just at the end. First resident question was, are we being charged for carpet cleaning? The answer is yes, we are being charged for carpet cleaning. This is the charge sheet that we've had in place for some time, and it is $17 per 15-minute increments, with the first visit being 30 minutes off the bat, just because it does take time for them to fill up the machines, get there, and then take them back and clean them out. So we do charge for that. Amongst other items, just for sake of conversation, the extra cleaning could be vacuuming upholstery from housekeeping, moving furniture and cleaning underneath, cleaning cabinets and pantry closets, changing bed linens is a different cost, but that is a service we do as well. And then also spot removal, cleanings, traffic lane cleaning, upholstery cleaning, and then also rollaway beds. These are all services we provide for a variety of fees, but these charge sheets are available. If we were to charge, we fill out on there what we've done, and then we'd have you sign at the bottom before we would actually submit any of that into account. So we don't just do it without your authorization. Next question was the status of the Holton Brothers Masonry project. They have finished up for now. They have made their way around some of the more serious areas in need in the historic building. So we all saw they started in that courtyard, worked up the chimney, and they came all the way around the front of the Hinton addition and along the front all the way to what used to be the main entrance. They made some significant repairs there as well. So they are buttoned up. So the lift is being picked up this Friday along with some of their materials that are still in the gazebo courtyard. Next question was, there's a ruined table in the club room that should be removed and refinished. Thankfully, the water damage that is on that table is easily removable, so we're going to have that taken down to the shop, repaired, and put back. Work orders in place. Next is the many times garbage truck receptacles at the Bradford Terrace entrance are overflowing with stuff. Could there be a regular routine for emptying them? I simply increase the routine for having them checked. So the security shift checks them, and our day shift will just check them as well, because they are the largest containers, and sometimes people bring a lot of stuff in and fill them up. The last item was a resident comment. The flower plantings and the ponds around the facility look very nice. So I'm happy with that. We did it to make sure that everyone here can enjoy it. So I'm glad for that. The last item I wanted to talk about was the window washing. We sent out the schedule. So again, there's no waiver attached to it this year because we have a maintenance individual from East Castle walking with them, and they're not left unattended. And that way we can be in there to check the windows, check the screens. It allows us to do some maintenance while they're doing the cleaning of the windows. So we make good use of that time. Question?
Will they move the furniture away from the windows for us?
Yes, if there's something in front of the windows, we're going to move that, I guess. Unless it's a giant cabinet that takes a moving company, that one might be the exception. But most things are small cabinets, tables, maybe a couch. We can certainly have that done. They're very familiar with that.
Will they come in if you're not home?
They will come in if you're not home with the East Castle Place representative.
I have a doctor's
So if there's something, I've had a couple residents reach out. If there's something that's unusual, feel free to reach out. We can try to make some accommodations, but we're trying to stay on a pretty free-flowing schedule so they can get through it out in a timely fashion, and that we're not holding things up or whatnot. All right, that's all I have for this event. Thank you. Oh, that's fine.
I talked to Tyler when Holton was here about the roof on the ceiling on the porch on the historic, because it's coming down little bits and pieces of concrete all the time. It's coming down on the floor.
You're talking on the patio out there?
Not the patio, one of the porches on the historic building.
Okay.
the front.
I'll tell you what I'll do. Probably it's best for me to go and just double check that, because I want to be sure of what you're looking at.
Okay.
But we broke up some of the restoration of masonry into a 2-year project, so we'll be doing some more work out there next year. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Eric. And I just want to make one note too on the window washing. If you do have knickknacks and things of that nature that may be a little bit more fragile that you can take care of in front of your windows, please do that. Again, that will just allow for you to make sure those items are taken care of appropriately. As much as I believe our maintenance team will and window washers will be delicate in any regard, I would just hate for something to happen. And again, any larger pieces of furniture, like Eric said, cabinets, desks, things of that nature, don't move those. I'm just saying if you have knickknacks on the windowsills and things of that nature that are beautiful, we want them to stay beautiful. So please go ahead and remove those ahead of your time. Did everybody receive their memo in the in-house mailbox? So everybody's kind of got, okay, sounds good. We could probably post that on channel 955 as well, just for each day, kind of where they're anticipated to come. I know that there's some catch-up work that Eric probably has pre-planned in there as well, in case of a rain day or something of that nature. So we want to get you all taken care of. And so again, big appreciation to Eric after the patio cleaning. So the next on the agenda is food and beverage. And because I grilled out, I think I can do food and beverage today. So I'm going to give you the update. No, I'm just kidding. Carlos is tied up with a number of things. So it was great to see a couple of you, many of you out there. It was wonderful to kick off the summer. Although the weather was more pretty yesterday and I believe on Saturday, but hey, it's Wisconsin, we deal with what's dealt. But Carlos wanted to pass along and had a question. And this is a question that has come up many a time. And you know, I'm one to find solutions and find them quickly. As I see one of my favorite residents in the back that asked this as well. Can there be rollers attached to the chairs, the two front legs, in the main dining room? The chairs are very difficult to adjust, and for most residents, as well as staff, and the rollers would help. So, in talking with Carlos, we've talked with our vendor. There is no good solution outside of replacing the chairs. That is the best solution. To retrofit, so to speak, to make, drill a hole in the bottom of the chair and put casters in, it is not A, efficient, nor B, will probably work, because the wood legs will split. So, what we will be doing is obviously through the renovations, we will be removing and replacing chairs and tables. So my commitment to you is that I will be working with our interior designer to fast track the chairs. And so we can put those on the list ahead of, that will match what the end result is, but with that, we can also make sure that the rollers are on the chairs. It is not the immediate solution, and I wish I could give you that immediate solution because we would have done it last year, because this has not been necessarily a new question. But again, the cost prohibitive nature of trying to retrofit, as well as the safety of them, because again, as soon as you retrofit them, caster comes off, then you got one caster on, one caster off, and somebody tips out. Don't want that either. So, unfortunately, the long answer is it's going to be a couple of months at a minimum, most likely another 6 months, until we can have those chairs with the casters. My commitment again to you is that we will fast track that as much as we can with our interior design team so that those chairs can get put on order immediately. By immediately, as soon as we get the interior designer on board and things of that nature. But that will be a top priority for them with the casters being installed at time of delivery, meaning they'll be ordered with casters. Not the best answer. I wish I had a better one for you. In the meantime, again, our staff will work with Eric. Maybe there is something that we can put on the bottom and make them slide a little bit easier. Again, I know we've trialed a few of those things and it hasn't really done too much. So, we will do our best with that. Questions about that? Again, sorry. The other item. So, as you see, Carlos is not present. You see Carlos in his chef jacket. If you've seen anywhere in Milwaukee or in the restaurant industry, it's tough. Very, very tough. Probably the toughest I've seen in 10 years in doing this. Carlos has been doing this for much longer than me, and this is tough. And we've been working through that. in hiring and getting the right people and getting the right staff. And I assure you, it's not because we're not paying enough or because we're not attractive. It's because the number of jobs that are open and available. I, for instance, saw on Fox 6 that the packing house usually opens 7 days a week and is reopened 5 days a week because they can't staff. Unfortunately, tomorrow night, we want to give you the heads up that we will not have the dining room open because of staff. We'll be reopened on Saturday because we have the appropriate amount of staff. We will do delivery, no charge of course, same keys, but rather than try to provide a service that is not going to meet anyone's expectation, it will only add to the frustration of yourselves as well as possibly our staff. We're going to go ahead and make the proactive decision to close the dining room for one evening. Carlos and I chatted about this, and he's the last to want to make this decision because we know how important that dining room is, and we know the socialization, and we know that it's been over 14 months and we're getting back to normal. But I hope you can understand, and again, feel free to provide feedback, and I know that reservations have helped, but on average, we need 5 to 6 servers in the dining room on a given evening. Tomorrow, we have 3 staffed, and that's including Carlos, because of call-ins and things of that nature. So it's tough right now, and I assure you that we, from an East Castle Place standpoint, are doing everything we can to make sure that that service is provided. And again, I wish it was a pay thing, because that's very easy fixed. Unfortunately, that's not the case. We have students that are finishing up finals that need that time off. We have high schoolers that are taking their last week and they want to enjoy their last Friday before the summer hits and they're back here. And so again, rather than saying tomorrow at 3, hey, guess what, we don't have the staff, or hey, it's gonna be Carlos and Mary and maybe a couple of directors, and the service is not going to be nearly where it needs to be, and we add to the frustration, we know that unfortunately we can provide as best delivery service as possible to your apartments, and we'll go that direction. Again, Saturday, the plan is to be open Sunday and then ongoing Monday through Friday. We do have a number of newer staff members that are coming on board. That is another reason. We've learned that when we're short-staffed and a new staff member comes on board and we're working short, unfortunately they're the ones to leave pretty quickly. So we're also wanting to make sure we're mindful of that employee, because again, each and every one of the servers in the kitchen, I assure you, want to do the best possible service for you each and every night. However, when they're brand new and they're trying to learn the ropes, so to speak, and they're used to having somebody by their side to kind of oversee, and then that person is gone, and they're left on an island, so to speak, that's tough. That's tough for you, it's tough for the server, and that doesn't help in retaining the strong talent that we want. So, unfortunately, I have to deliver that message to you as well. I wish I had a better food and beverage update for you. I can tell you the team is dedicated. I can tell you that the team has been working through a number of different situations. There's also situations that we couldn't account for that happened, and we're working through those pieces as well. So again, we know that the market outside of East Castle is very difficult. If you've gone down Downer, you've probably seen a couple signs that say help wanted. I know when I walk in every store it says hiring for ... even Home Depot, seasonal, stockers, cashiers, service personnel, so again, the service industry, with it being back open, is one of the hardest hit. And I'm sure you've seen on your news stations the restaurant industry and what they're trying to do to get those individuals back and to attract new staff. We are in a similar position. Unfortunately for us, we're in a position that that it's a consistent paycheck, so to speak, and usually you're out by 8 p.m. as opposed to midnight with many of those restaurants. So again, we're creatively recruiting, creatively trying to figure out, just like everybody else. I know when I talk to Catholic Home or Newcastle Place, it's a department that's hurting. So we're gonna get through this, and again, these are very tough decisions, and they don't go without, without thought. That's why you probably see Carlos working the station a few times to alleviate Mary and to give Mary some time off, or to give Stan some time off. Again, trying to utilize those individuals, and obviously Carlos needs his time off too. So there's a long-term game, and I guess long story short, I hope everybody can understand for one evening to enjoy dinner in your apartments, maybe gather in each other's apartments with a glass of wine, something of that nature, an old-fashioned over a meal. But again, if you have questions about that or want to provide any feedback to me, please feel free and let me know. All right. Any other questions for food beverage? David.
Oh, would you just repeat for everyone the new closing dates or the dates in which we have to adjust?
Tomorrow evening.
Okay.
So it is Friday night, which would be May 28th. Thank you. Friday, May 28th, the dining room will be closed and reopened Saturday, May 29th. Even on the holiday, will be open. So, all right, with that, I see Laura Wengler up next. Laura is going to share with us, I don't know, there's a couple things going on, so
There's only
a few things. So, Laura, take it away.
Okay.
Thanks, Heather. We do have a number of things coming up in the month of June. As things are starting to open up, it's wonderful to see a lot of activities that we're planning. And it was wonderful yesterday to see so many of you out on that garden patio enjoying cocktails. And the garden looks absolutely beautiful. So a special thank you to everyone that has participated in planting in the garden. It's just lovely. I know that Barb, I will get to my agenda, but I know that Barb Hill wanted me to mention that the cutting garden is being planted and it will be available in a couple of weeks. Is that right, Barb?
Oh, maybe 3 weeks.
Maybe 3 weeks or so.
Depending on the bunnies.
Depending upon the bunnies. I understand there's going to be some fencing going up for those bunnies. So, all right, a couple of things. There's been a few changes to our weekly and monthly communications. There's a difference in the highlights of the week. So we've had compliments on this. We've asked residents if they like to have the offerings of Channel 955 on one side of the highlights of the week, and then the programs and the events on the other side of the week. So I'm getting some nods. Okay, excellent. So we will continue that for our highlights of the week. Also next month, we are excited to have a June calendar. We will have one of our large calendars available for you to see, so you can see all the events and the programming we have planned, all laid out for the month of June. So once again, our large calendar comes back. We're looking at some different changes. That's one example is the highlights of the week. Some different ways that we can sync everything together on Touchtown, Channel 955, etc. So I wanted to let you know some June event highlights that's next on the agenda. First of all, David Tolan's Music Appreciation will be next Tuesday, June 1st. He's highlighting Russian composers, Russian music for adults. So, next we have on Tuesday, June 8th, the Fulton Violin Duo. If you're familiar with the violin duo that's been here before, they're going to be back. On Tuesday, June 8th, we're having a Root Beer Float Social. I know there's been some asking for that. On Thursday, June 10th, pianist and vocalist Carolyn Wader will be here to perform. On Thursday, June 17th, we're going to have an author and film historian, David Fantle, do a presentation. On Monday, June 14th, Kathy Johnson is going to share a foreign film and have some discussion. And on Friday, May 18th, in the month of June, June 18th, Luther Gray from the Milwaukee Symphony Orchestra will be here to talk about the next season. He's going to talk about upcoming highlights. It's an opportunity for all of our season ticket holders to renew. And we're going to talk a little bit about the new venue as well as some of the Pops concerts we'd love to go to. So don't miss that. Some other highlights that we have in June, we are starting our weekly grocery shopping trips. Those will be on Wednesday afternoon at 1 o'clock or 1:30. We will be rotating different grocery stores that we will travel to. So that's starting in June. We're also starting weekly walking groups on Tuesday afternoons in our neighborhoods, but also in a variety of Milwaukee parks. So Esterbrook Park and Veterans Park will be rotating those around. A couple of other highlights, we're doing a Wisconsin beer and cheese tasting in the month of June. There's going to be a corn grill out that you can enjoy. And honoring our Father's Continental Breakfast, we're having that around Father's Day. So I just wanted to let you know those are some of the highlights that we have. And we're going to be continuing our roving bar on the patio at 4 o'clock every Wednesday afternoon. So if you can pass it on to residents and on Channel 955, come and join us on Wednesday at 4 o'clock on the patio, that beautiful garden patio. Finally, we have some musicians that are lined up in the next couple of months, so we can have them in the patio as well. So a shout out to our resident lifestyle committee members, some of them that are here. We meet every second Tuesday of the month at 4 or 4:30 in the club room. So if there's any suggestions or anything that you'd like to have planned for the next few months, please let me or let your committee know. Any questions?
So
Yes.
will Roy still be shopping?
So the question was, will Ray still be shopping? We will be continuing shopping. However, of course, we'd like to have that decrease as we're doing the shopping, and we're encouraging residents to come on those weekly shopping trips. So I can't say that we'll be continuing forever. That's a good question.
And then the other, is that donated, that piece of?
Oh yes, Mike Braver is here to talk about this. So this is actually, from what I understand, it's a piece of equipment that was donated. I think, Tyler, can you talk to more of that effect?
Absolutely.
Okay, because we did utilize it on the garden patio yesterday, which was wonderful. Little Frank Sinatra that we had. It does travel. If you notice, it's on the casters, so we can move it from place to place like our roving bar. Actually, is it a Symphonova? So it's part of our sound system in Lindsay Hall. So a special thanks, Eric. Who's your part of your team that put that together?
Jacob.
Jake did. Okay. So a special thanks to Jake for putting that together as well. So we'll be enjoying that. It also has a turntable as well as a DVD player, a CD player. So very nice, and I'm glad you enjoyed it. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you so much. Back to you, Tyler.
All right, thank you, Laura. I think you hit it on the head as far as what that sound system is. So that does finalize the system here. There are still some tweaks that have to be made. If you remember, Symphonova, we had a generous donation from one of your fellow neighbors for the sound system. However, the individual has not been back since January of 2020 because the individual that built the system is actually from London. So, tough to travel. If you were trying to travel last year, you may have been in the same boat. But yes, that is a piece that will be a part of East Castle Place, potentially, obviously out on the patio, and we want it to be movable. So hence the casters. Special thanks to Eric and his team. All right, next up is myself. I have a few updates. First one being COVID-19. I assume all of you received the memo since I don't see any face masks. So you will see, and again, that memo was fairly clear, in guidance of CDC that brought out actually May 16th. So again, we took the conservative approach. We kept our masks on for a little bit longer until we continue to see steps. Until, to be honest, I filtered through and made sure that I had proper communication. But your masks are no longer needed in the hallways, in these settings, and that is due to you all doing your part. 100% of you are vaccinated. And so because of that, obviously the CDC said you can resume activities as you were prior to the pandemic. So, hopefully that was a welcome gesture. Now, you do still see Eric, Maureen, Laura, Lindsay, Brad, myself in masks. That is because in a healthcare setting, which is not highlighted necessarily in CDC, but it is in their guidance, are still required to wear masks. And actually the DHS of Wisconsin, so Wisconsin Department of Health, actually implemented face shields again for our staff, even though we do not have a current resident that has COVID-19. So let me just speak briefly on COVID-19 for you, those viewing, and for those that are in the room. If you didn't know, COVID-19 is still here. It's still present. We did not defeat that as a country, and it's going to be here. And so the steps that we need to take here at East Castle Place are still precautionary. So your safety and security is still in our best interest and should be in yours. So if you see a fellow neighbor wearing a mask, that is completely up to them. That is their option by all means. When you see staff walking around, it's not optional for them. We still have a mask mandate internally at East Castle Place, even though a large percent of the employees have been vaccinated. Again, we co-mingle between the healthcare settings in 4th and 5th floor, 3rd floor of Bradford, as well as Water Tower. And so instead of saying, well, you don't have to wear your mask because you don't touch base in a healthcare setting, but you work in a healthcare setting, so you have to. We're gonna make it simple. We're gonna make every employee wear their mask. So again, that is something that myself, along with the director team, has said from a precautionary standpoint. Again, they leave campus much more often. Although they may be vaccinated, although you are vaccinated, it's just another level of security, safety that we want to provide. When you have visitors walking through the hallways and in your apartments as well, visitors still have to be in masks. That is a requirement because, again, we use the umbrella of a healthcare setting. Even though you're independent, we take care of vulnerable individuals and we need to add that protection. This is the status going forward for the meantime. It's not hopefully a forever. We'll find that time when it's appropriate. But again, please do make sure that when you have visitors come in, remind them to wear masks. Secondly, if you are visiting your loved one in a healthcare setting or a friend, please also wear your mask in those settings. Again, that is a requirement that we have here in East Castle Place. And if you see in the CDC, there is guidance in there for healthcare facilities, prisons, and schools. So that is the COVID-19 update. We do have an employee, actually 2 employees that tested positive. Earlier this week, both employees was non-work related, and we know that because we're still regularly testing our staff. Also, no residents received or have COVID-19. It's going to continue to be a part of what we work through day to day. We still have processes, we still have procedures to make sure our staff, as well as you, remain safe and are able to work here in East Castle. Mr. Hill.
What is the staff vaccination level?
The question is, what is the staff vaccination level? We are, I have to pull numbers, but roughly 65 to 70% of our full-time staff. We're probably more in that 80% range of full-time staff. That continues to be the case as the vaccine becomes more and more regular. Our testing process is actually changing and gives additional incentive to be vaccinated because if you're vaccinated, again, the CDC has said you no longer have to be tested unless symptomatic. So if you're not vaccinated, and again, the director team is going through that begins next week, they don't have to come in on their day off to get tested. So again, another reason for them to be vaccinated. But it is not mandatory at this point for East Castle Place. Unlike the flu vaccine, that is mandatory for all staff. That is something that we do, but that is our current vaccination rate among staff.
Is there any reason why it's not closer to 100%?
The question is there any reason why it's not closer to 100%? The question, great question, because again, myself, I'm vaccinated, have been since February. I think there's still some questions out there among staff. I think there's still some maybe social distinguished issues, meaning that it's what I want. And so I don't feel comfortable with it. It's just not mandatory, and maybe I don't agree with it. And so again, that's where we continue to educate. That's where we continue to push and encourage staff members to be vaccinated. And that's why I've seen the rate pick up. At the end of February, after our second clinic, after the first clinic, we were at 35% in January. And so we've had a nice pickup over the course of the last 4 months, and we're going to continue to see that. I will share with you that some employees or philosophies are just dead set against it. And so again, we'll continue to educate, we'll continue to encourage. At some point, it may be mandatory, but at this time, it's not. Any other questions regarding COVID-19? All right, then there was a question that was brought to me, that's not on your agenda, it was brought to me just before this meeting, and the question was, does East Castle Place do a physical or some type of assessment in order for a resident to gain access into East Castle Place? Great question, and I think we've discussed this a little bit before, but if you remember when you moved in, you had to get clearance from your doctor that you were able to live independently. So there's a form that goes out and the physician signs off, yes, no, so on and so forth. We had a very interesting situation earlier this month. And again, this is an individual that the doctor said, given the structure of independent living, he would be safe. They would be safe. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case, and so we made the difficult decision to work with the individual to find a better spot. And so, again, that individual is not in independent living at this time, and again, we're still working with them. But again, that was a piece where the doctor said, given the structure of East Castle Place, transportation, meals, some oversight, he would be successful in independent living, or they would. Unfortunately, that was not the case in our assessment, and so we worked with the family and the individual to make sure that appropriate settings were found. That will continue. We will put further structure into that. Actually, our regional marketing director is here today, working with Anna and Heidi and myself. But again, since the beginning of East Castle's entrance fee product, that has been in place to my knowledge. That continues to be in place, and I think we can make it a little more uniform because again, a doctor's opinion does matter. It's not Tyler MD that makes those decisions. I do go with what the physician says, and so again, in the event, residents have to be able to physically and mentally qualify for East Castle Place's independent. Now, as many of you know, aging in place is what we expect. And so your fellow neighbors, yourselves, myself included, we've aged. It's unfortunately Father Time, unless we found that fountain of youth somewhere. So as that happens, we continue to work with residents to make sure that they're safe in independent living. And again, whether that's with an additional set of hands, whether that's working with family members, so on and so forth. But again, that's why residents come to East Castle Place and working hand in hand with you. So the aging in place will happen, but in order to